Hello, MJ7NLK here and welcome back to the channel. In today's video we are looking at the President Jerry handheld CB radio. This radio is a cost-reduced version of the Randy 3 to compete with the Thunderpole TX, PNI HP82 and the Joepix CB514 on price. It shares the same case and design, but it's absent a few features and accessories compared to the Randy 3. Coming up in this video, unboxing and first look, comparison to the Randy 3, general operation, standard power tests. We're going to open the radio up and see if you can expand the Jerry like you can the Randy 3, and also what the power output looks like if you can. There is lots to cover, so please do stick around. Before we dive in, some radio news. Radioddity are sending me a QT80 for review. I'm very much looking forward to this radio arriving. It's a 10-metre ham radio which boasts 80 watts PEP on AM and single sideband and 50 watts on FM. It has TX and RX noise reduction and supports CW via a rather strange modification to the microphone. It's programmable via PC software and looks to have every option going. Now it does sound an awful lot like the Washington, and I've heard that it might share the same circuit board. So we will have lots of fun comparing them when it finally arrives. Here is a quick message from this video's sponsor, PCBWay. PCBWay are makers of prototype PCBs of all kinds. They also offer services like PCB assembly, CNC machining, 3D printing, sheet metal fabrication and injection moulding. Manufacturing times are exceptionally quick and delivery is super fast. I have used their services on many occasions and PCBWay get an NLK-Media thumbs up for quality and service. Check out their website PCBWay.com for more information or follow the link in the video's description. PCBWay are running a 10th anniversary special event and you can claim prizes and badges, so it's worth a look. Check out that link in the video's description as well. Thank you PCBWay for supporting this channel. Well, let's take a quick look at the box. Well, it's pretty much the same as the Randy 3's box and is nicely presented and has lots of shelf appeal. Well done, President. Now let's talk about the different models and jurisdictions before we get inside the box. The European models of the President lineup are different to the North American versions. In Europe we have the Randy 3, and the equivalent in North America is the Randy 2 FCC. The Jerry is the European model and the Jerry FCC is the North American model. Typically the European models are expandable and support the export mode and the North American models don't. The regulatory body in the US, the FCC, hence the names, normally require these features to be removed before they will type approve them for sale and use. I do not have the FCC model to test, only the EU model, so cannot say if the FCC model has the same features or what the differences between them are. Let's get inside the box and see what they've left out from the Randy 3. So inside the box we have the President sticker. Always like to get these. I like a sticker in a box. We get an extremely thin but tall user manual. We get the radio, antenna, car kit, very nice, and a fuse. That is it. That is the contents of the box. So a few things are definitely missing. The car kit is lovely to see, nice to see. You have the antenna connector, the accessories power socket, and this clips onto the bottom of the radio. Let me just grab my Randy. They just have a clip on the bottom and it clips in place like so. What you don't get is the home charger, which is a box like this with a hole in the bottom that you can plug a wall wart into to charge the unit at home. That's a bit stingy. You get the antenna and the radio itself. Now the radio, comparing it to Randy's. The radio has the identical case. The main difference here is that the Randy's have a green line and the Jerry has an orange line, but it is the identical case. Now, what else is missing from the box? Well, you don't get a strap either. No big problem. You don't get the mic clip, the wall adapter, as I just said, and the home charger clip. You don't get those. I can see immediately that you have a difference on the CTCSS and DCS tones and codes button. That has been replaced with the flashlight symbol, and we know that the Jerry does not have that functionality. And the Jerry only supports one colour of screen, which I believe is orange. Where the Randy has support for multiple colours in the menu, you can change that. Let's talk about the charging situation. The Jerry, and the Randy 3 for that matter, do not have a USB socket for charging. So how the hell are you supposed to charge your radio if you don't have a vehicle with an accessory socket available? Well, you would have to purchase the home charging adapter, priced at £9, or the desktop charging pod, priced at £17. Neither of these come with a wall wart, so you would have to source one of those. 12 volts, 0.5 amps, by the way. I completely understand not providing a charger if your radio has the ability, like the TX does, to charge it via USB. So the key features of the Jerry. Its AM/FM 26.965 to 27405 MHz, supports all European norms including FM UK, has a 7.4 volt battery, 2.5mm headphone jack on the side, single colour display, digital S-meter, automatic squelch control, key beep, and good news everyone, it has Roger beep and 6 of them, dual watch, scan and scan skip, Vox noise blanker and ANL filter, high cut filter and noise gate. It is basically a Randy 3, without CTCSS and DCS tones and codes, and with an orange screen. And a few accessories missing from the box, of course. We will find out if the expansion options have been removed from this radio a bit later on. So looking at general radio operation. Well, it's virtually a Randy 3, and I have lots of videos on the Randy 3 on my channel, so do check them out if you want more information, but let's just go over the key items. In order to set your norm, you need to turn the radio off, push and hold the F key, turn the radio on, and it will flash what norm it's currently set to, which is U for UK. Use your up and down buttons to cycle between the available options. Once you've found the norm that you want, and we want UK in this instance, you push and hold the F key. It will beep to acknowledge, turn the radio off, turn it back on. Nice and simple. To change between bands, you push this button, and that will cycle between AM, FM, and if you're on the UK norm, FM UK. Now, I don't agree with what they've done here. They've replaced the CTCSS and DCS tones and codes button with a flashlight. So pushing this button will turn the light on and off. And you have to long press this button to access the menus. Surely the menu would be the primary function for this button. But I guess they're just using what they've already got, and it was easier for them to just replace the CTCSS and DCS tones and codes button with another option. But I would have preferred to have seen that single press as accessing the menu. On the side of the radio, you have your PTT button. You have a low and high power button, which will enable you to quickly switch between the power modes. And you have your squelch control, your increase and decrease of your squelch. And if you push both of these buttons together, that will enable automatic squelch control on the radio. So nice and simple and easy to use. Now let's talk about power and the power setup. You have the top antenna and you have the car kit adapter external antenna. You cannot use the top antenna and the car kit attached antenna at the same time, or you could damage the radio. It's on their website, it's in the manual, it's everywhere. Don't do it. Now, we are going to be testing AM, FM and FM UK in midband channel 20 using the low and high power option, and we'll be using the internal and external antenna. I'm not going to take you through every single reading as usual. I'm just going to go on and do them, but let's talk about the setup that we have here. So the radio at the moment is outputting on the car adapter. That is powered by my bench supply at 13.2 volts and set to cut out at 5 amps because the fuse that's used here is 5 amps. The antenna is going into my old bird. I have a 25 watt slug in the old bird, and that is outputting to a tap attenuator, and the tap attenuator is outputting to a dummy load. Now, if you don't know what a tap attenuator is, this basically allows the power to flow through to the antenna and takes a very small, weak piece of that signal so that you can analyze it in other equipment. If I was to pump into this baby oscilloscope, if I was to pump into this 10 watts, it would seriously damage it. So we want a very, very low wattage output of that signal so we can look at it without damaging the equipment. So that's why this little box is here. So I'm going to crack on and do that, and I'll come back with the results shortly. Here are the results of the standard power tests. Low power mode is effectively 1 watt. And high is about 3.5 watts. This is consistent across both the top antenna and the car kit connection. Now next up, let's look at the hidden factory services configuration menu. Modifying a radio is at your own risk. You will have legal obligations in your region with regards to radio transmissions, licensing and power outputs. You should always ensure that you are not causing a nuisance and, more importantly, not causing any radio interference or distress to others. Please do not break the law in your region. The information provided in this section of the video is intended for countries with a higher than 4 watt power limit. Laws do change, so ensure you have researched the current laws in your region. To access the factory services menu, you need to perform some ninja moves. Let's talk about them, and then we'll do them. You need to press and hold the mode button, the torch button at the same time, and turn the radio on. When you do that, you will see the word test written at the bottom left of the screen. It is only displayed for a short period of time. In that space of time, you need to press the ANL button, then the scan button, then the MON button, and then the EMG button. So you press them one by one in that order, and you will then access the factory services menu. So let's do that now. And then you're in. There are 20 or so settings in here, and some might be missing until the radio has been expanded. Use the up and down buttons to move between the options, and to set a value you push and hold the PTT button. It will then display the current value of the setting on the screen, and you use the up and down buttons whilst keeping the PTT depressed in order to change the value. Be warned that in some settings, like power settings, going down is increasing power output and not going up. The golden rule is to write down your factory settings before changing anything, so you can always return the radio back to its stock setting if you need to. My advice here is not to mess with settings that you don't know anything about. The options we are interested in are option 5, high power, option 6, medium power, and option 7, low power. And FM modulation is option 9 if needed. Now, another thing to note here is that high power relates to when the radio is expanded in its high power state. Medium power relates to the high power in standard mode. All very confusing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set the medium power to its maximum value. So holding the PTT button says 0311 is the current value, and I can decrease that down to 0300, which is the floor of this particular setting. And you can see on the power meter that the power has increased there whilst testing. Now you could also do the same for power low and increase that if you wanted more than 1 watt in the low power setting. So let's now go back and repeat the power tests and see what that has done for us. These are the results of adjusting the medium 06 option to its lowest value in standard mode. The high power output has increased nicely to around 4 watts FM and 15 watts on AM. Now we need to take the radio apart and see if the expansion options are there, just like on the Randy. So we can enable export mode and high power mode. So we're going to take the radio apart. You have to undo the screw in the center of the mic stroke belt clip, but I've noticed that you don't get the belt clip with the Jerry like you do on the Randy, which effectively slides on here to mount to your belt, so that's a bit of a shame. Undo this screw. It is a captive screw, so it's not going to fall off, and then open the rear door of the radio. There is a plastic pull tab to pull the battery up, and then you'll need to remove the battery from the clip at the back, and out it comes. There are 4 screws in here, and I cannot remember on the Randy whether you need to undo this one as well, but I'll report back on that in a moment. I'll undo these 4 screws because we need to take these 2 halves that are separated by the orange seal apart to get inside. So I'll report back on that in a moment. So yes, all 5 screws need to come out. And once they've come out, you can simply just pull the face of the radio off. The speaker is effectively connected via these 2 little springs here. And it's these 2 loop wires here that we're interested in. So what we need to do with a pair of snippers is to effectively cut these 2 white loops, and that's all you need to do to expand the radio. So I'm going to cut those now. And I'll tidy that up and then put the radio back together, and we have performed the modification. So there we go, it's tidied up. What I decided to do was to cut the wires as close to the board as I could, because there's no point in having the 4 ends of those bits of wire inside in case when you close the device back up again, something touches something it shouldn't. So in order to reinstate the wires, you'd have to take the board out anyway. So I've cut them nice and low, as you can see here. So I'm going to put it back together. Incidentally, the Randy 3's expansion procedure is identical. So we're just doing exactly what we did for the Randy 3. So let's see what difference that's made and whether we are now in export mode when we put it back together. So when turning the radio on for the first time, you'll see T5 displayed on the screen, and that means that the radio is in its normal mode. If you want T0 mode, the 5 kHz decrement, then you simply push and hold the F key. And then you'll notice a little dot appear between the 0 and the 9. That tells you that you're in the decrement mode. If you turn the radio off and turn it back on, it will say T0, so you know that you're in the 5 kHz decrement. We don't want that, so we're going to turn that back to T5. In order to select your band block, you can see that it's got an A next to 09. That's band block A. You double tap the F key and then use your up and down to move between the band blocks D, E, etc. If I want band block D, just push F again, and that has selected that band block. So that's nice and simple. Next thing to note is that if you have the car adapter plugged in, your power modes here is high, low, medium, and then high. So you get all 3 power modes with the car adapter plugged in. If I remove the car adapter, we only get low and high. So I think off the top antenna, like with the Randy, you get low and medium effectively without the car adapter being plugged in. And with the car adapter plugged in, high becomes medium as it would in the normal standard mode, and you get a new high which has the higher power output. Hope that makes sense. What I'm going to do next is jump into the services menu. In the high power mode, drop that setting down to the lowest it will go, which means it will be outputting the most power. And then I will undertake the power tests that I did before and come back with the results. But I'll have to do 3 sets. 1 set for the new high, then the medium and the low on the adapter. But can't do that obviously on the antenna, internal antenna. So let me do that, and I'll be back in a moment. These are the power readings in expanded mode. Please note that AM in expanded mode on the car adapter only has low and high. The low, medium and high settings only relate to FM. So with the car adapter on AM, we are outputting a maximum of 17.5 watts and 10 watts on FM. With the internal antenna, we are outputting a maximum of 15 watts on AM and 4.4 watts on FM. Basically exactly the same as the Randy 3. Well, what have we learnt? The Jerry is a Randy 3 in every way, shape and form, with the exception of CT/CSS and DCS tones and codes and a single colour display. It can be expanded in the same way and outputs the same power, so nothing has been removed here. The Randy 3 costs around £210 and the Jerry costs £140, which is a £70 difference. I have mixed emotions. I don't like them taking away the belt clip, home charger, wall wart and mic clip, which would after all only have a nominal impact on the price. On the other hand, it's a bargain compared to the Randy 3 if you don't need tones and codes. What I simply do not understand is why they didn't just reduce the price of the Randy 3. It's been out for years now and has sold well. £70 for tones and codes and a few extra LEDs doesn't stack up. If they are able to turn out the same radio for less money, then reducing the price of the Randy 3 to around £165 would have been the better choice in my opinion. The Jerry is well built, easy to use and is very configurable and flexible, but has the same issues the Randy 3 has, such as the battery not being hot swappable and the obvious design flaw with regards to the radio getting damaged if used with 2 antennas attached. It has no USB charging and doesn't have the fastest scan function. Don't get me wrong, it's one of the best handheld CB radios on the market, but there are some areas for improvement which have not been addressed in this version. Well, that's it. I hope you found the information in this video helpful. If you did, then please help the channel out by giving it a thumbs up and subscribing. This really does help to ensure I can continue to provide content. Please feel free to buy me a coffee, details in the description below, and if you have any questions or comments then you know what to do. All I ask is that you keep it respectful. Trolls and nasty know-it-alls need not apply. Until next time, stay safe, stay happy, and catch you in the next one.